Welcome to another CHRO Conversation, hosted by the Center for Executive Succession at the Darla Moore School of Business. I'm your host, Anthony Nyberg, and today we are speaking to Ellyn J, Chief Leadership and HR Officer and a member of the Global Management Committee at Accenture. In this role, Ellyn is responsible for the more than 400,000 members of Accenture located in about 120 countries around the world. So Ellyn, thank you very much for joining us. As you think about Accenture and the vast worldwide group of clients that you have, what are some of the key ways that HR can really help drive business success?
Well, in Accenture, we're a talent-led business, so it is really a great opportunity for HR to contribute to the success of our business, but also to the success of our clients. And probably the most important thing that we have to think about in HR at Accenture is the velocity of change. The velocity of change is happening at unprecedented rates, and ensuring that our people remain skilled to make sure that their skills are cutting edge in technology and industry or functional areas is the most important thing that we in HR do to make sure that Accenture is successful and that we can serve our clients successfully.
So how do you help with that, of helping ensure that in a world that is changing so incredibly fast and the skills required are changing so quickly, how do you make sure that people have those skills and are adapting quickly enough?
So first and foremost, we team very closely with our Chief Strategy Officer and our Chief Technology Officer to make sure that we understand the future and how to future-proof the company, which is ensuring our people are skilled. So understanding that we have to skate to where the puck is going and not where the puck is, in the words of Wayne Gretzky. And so identifying the most leading edge technology, so for example today, extended reality and blockchain and artificial intelligence are three areas, for example, that we are doing massive reskilling in. And then we democratized our learning at Accenture. So it used to be that people would be selected to go to a training class, and then they would get on an airplane and fly to a training center. But really the thing that our people value most is actually having learning opportunities. So we democratized our entire learning investment, which is about $1 billion a year, so that people have real-time, on-demand access to world-class training on their mobile device, in the classroom, or in a training center.
So you talked about this world of change and having to get employees, your own and your clients, up to speed really quite quickly. What are some of the challenges you're finding in terms of identifying the best and getting the best talent up to the right speed and moving quickly enough?
So it's I think, an opportunity for organizations today. And because change is happening so quickly, I think every organization is facing this. And we have a real obligation as employers to ensure that we don't leave generations behind as technology is being applied to work in every field today. And we really have a strongly held belief that technology is going to elevate humans and not eliminate humans. And so it's really ensuring that you're very clear that learning has to be lifelong. So coming to an institution like this at the University of South Carolina is important to get the foundational skills that you need to be successful in the work world, but it can't end here. You have to, have intellectual curiosity and learning agility in your people. That has to be innate in your people so that you can skill and reskill people constantly. And as leaders, we have to be clear that you're not going to be able to practice what you went to school for a very long time, that you have to be willing to reskill yourself and to be proactive about that.
So I had not thought about it until you just mentioned, but one of the challenges, we frequently talk about the challenges with the younger generations, but you just described potential challenges with those that have more experience in ensuring that they stay up to date or advanced thinking in the future. Are there things that you suggest or recommend or help really keep people constantly learning like that?
Yeah, so generational diversity is actually, I think, an advantage for organizations. And there's a great story about a mining company in South Africa where they were starting to employ digital technologies to make mining safer for their employees. So safety is the number one issue on the minds of CEOs of mining companies. And so what they were doing was they were pairing the wisdom workers, as I like to call people of my generation, with millennials to go down into the mines. Because what the older generation people understood was mining, but they didn't know how to necessarily take advantage of all the digital technologies and didn't have the digital fluency that people that are digital natives have, those who are coming into the workforce today. So really finding a fusion of working together is one way to really tap into the experience of people who have been in the workforce longer. Next, I think it's as important for people who have been in the workforce a long time. People are going to have to work longer than we used to have to in the past. Notwithstanding the financial crisis, that really is a reason why people are working longer. Lifespan is longer. And so really making sure that you are providing opportunities for people to learn something new and then practice it right away is really the best way for, people of all generations, but it's certainly people who have been in the workforce longer to reskill most quickly.
So you talked about diversity of generations, and I know diversity and inclusion is a passion of yours.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit about what HR's role is in driving diversity and inclusion, or what responsibility HR might have for that?
Yeah. HR plays a very large role in inclusion and diversity, and at Accenture, it's a business issue. So in order to be the leading provider of digital-related services to our clients, we have to bring the most innovative solutions. And you can't drive innovation without diversity, full stop. HR plays a very significant role in inclusion and diversity, but really first, you have to set the tone at the top as leaders. So the whole C-suite needs to be committed to driving change around inclusion and diversity, because what we've seen for decades and decades and even centuries is it doesn't happen on its own. So once the tone is set at the top, HR can play a very clear role in executing a strategy. So how do you discover new sources of talent? And then how do you recruit them? How do you inspire people to grow? How do you make sure people are advancing in their careers? And last but not least, how do you ensure pay parity as well? And HR, again, is in the middle of all of those things. And then finally, I think what the organizations that are going to win this race are the organizations that recognize that they have to be disruptive around the real talent practices, but those that really tap into the human emotion of belonging. And HR can play a role to ensure that not only are you doing the programs and policies, but that you create an environment where people feel like they can show up every single day and be their authentic selves.
So are there additional principles that you would describe about diversity and inclusion that all companies should be practicing? So not even best practices, but just real principles. You talked about it has to start at the top, and you talked about creating an environment where people feel belonging. Are there other principles that come to mind?
Yeah, I think it's the principles that we follow is that it's not only what you say, it's what you do. So at every decision point in an individual's career, you have to look at those decisions through the lens of inclusion and diversity. And so hiring, advancing, retaining people, all of those decisions that are made have to be not only made in the context of getting to a workforce plan or ensuring that you're promoting, but looking at those topics through the lens of diversity and making sure that you're driving toward the outcomes that you want to achieve. Second, I believe that you must be transparent about what you're trying to do, because transparency builds trust, and it also allows you to collaborate with your own people, with your clients or customers and your communities to accelerate the pace of change. So So I think those principles should be evident in any organization. And then I'll mention it again, because it's not that universal, is that you have to pay people equally. And there's no way to pay people equally unless you take a hard look in the mirror and understand first whether you are practicing pay equality. And if you see a problem, then you need to fix it.
And in addition to these principles that you've described, are you seeing any really innovative efforts on part of companies? Is there such a thing as innovative efforts for diversity and inclusion, or is it we just need to do all the fundamentals really correctly and accurately?
Yeah, I think the next frontier is really around this concept of belonging. So, I'll just take a second to define. So diversity is about the characteristics that we all have, both visible and invisible. Inclusion is really a verb, so making sure people are invited to the table and have a voice at the table or the team. But belonging is, again, it's the emotional connection where each person feels valued. And why is that innovative? Because it's the sense of belonging, that emotional connection that unlocks human potential. And that is where you really drive change in business results. And we know from many, many studies that companies which do have a rich diversity perform better. And it's that ability to be your authentic self that allows people to perform.
Ellyn, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great treat, and we sincerely appreciate having you here.
Thank you for having me.
You just listened to another CHRO conversation. Today, Ellyn Shook of Accenture shared her views regarding how HR drives business strategy across industries and around the world. As you also heard, the challenges facing HR are the challenges that businesses face, placing the HR function at the forefront of driving business success. On behalf of all of us who are associated with the Masters of Human Resource program and the Center for Executive Succession here at the University of South Carolina, thank you for joining us.